Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome to the QuoteWerks Pain Point webinar series. My name is Josh Lockheed, and I'm the training evangelist here at QuoteWerks. Our goal of this series is to dive into common business challenges that businesses face when creating quotes and proposals. And today's pain point topic is tired of creating similar quotes over and over again. This is obviously a very common pain point for so many people, and it might be the reason you chose to use QuoteWerks or looking at a quoting solution. We know your time is valuable, so these webinars are fairly short, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. And we want you to be able to apply these solutions right away. And we want these webinars to be as quick and as efficient as your quoting process is or will be. So as with any webinar, we have a couple things on our agenda. With this series, what we'll be doing is focusing on the pain point topic itself, talking about some of the considerations of that pain point. We'll move on to the solution that QuoteWerks provides for that particular pain point, and then we'll jump into a live demo to show you how to implement those solutions as well. And of course, we always leave some Q&A time as well for the end of the session. So I do want to encourage everyone on this call to engage. We have the questions box in GoToWebinar, and I certainly encourage you to use that box anytime you may have a question throughout the course of the webinar. If there's anything that you need to bubble up to me. And if for some reason I can't get to your question, not a problem whatsoever. Send me a quick email at community@quoteworks.com. And we also have our different socials up here as well. Additionally, all of our webinars are recorded. So we'll send you a link of this webinar and it'll be uploaded to our YouTube page as well as the videos page on our website. And if you haven't done so already, we recommend subscribing to our YouTube page as you get notified anytime we upload any new content, and that's been happening pretty frequently recently. We also post a lot of new and helpful content on our social media pages, so as I mentioned, feel free to like or subscribe on any of the different platforms that are listed there. So when we're talking about the pain point that we're discussing today, we're covering the pain point of creating similar quotes over and over again. And in the same theme, we hear that managers' employees' main pain points are, again, sending same types of quotes over and over again, creating quotes from scratch. They don't like that the formats that their sales reps are using and sending quotes in, or their sales reps just don't really know where to start when it comes to building a quote. And those are definitely understandable frustrations when it comes down to your interest in delivering quotes and proposals as quickly as possible and with your best foot forward in terms of the presentation of those quotes and the contents of the quotes as well. So what do we do here at QuoteWerks to help solve those issues? Those issues are really resolved with document templates. Using templates is a great way to save time and effort and ensure consistency in your quotes, and is really the solution to the different pain points that we just discussed. Document templates automate the process for a quicker, more standardized and seamless process for creating quotes and proposals. Before we jump into the document templates discussion, I just want to make a side note here that there are some other ways that sales reps can cut quoting and proposal times in QuoteWerks. Again, this particular content is around the document templates. However, I want to mention a few notable features. One of those features is the bundles feature. So creating bundles allows you to specify a group of products to add to your quote all at once without having to remember each product. Similar in form to some extent to the document templates, except it's really just a list of products. When we talk about document templates, we're talking about being able to create defaults for the entire document. So the document products, the different contacts that we have on it, the sale info tab, notes, things of that nature. But bundles in and of their own right are a great solution, and a lot of our customers use them as well. I also listed here on the slide the chapter in the help file that you could find this information if you're interested in learning more. And as mentioned, there's a number of different videos out there as well that focus on each of these. The other thing I wanted to point out here is the configurator. And the configurator is a configuration tool that helps to simplify building a quote by giving you, or your sales reps, I should say, a list of products to choose from and a step-by-step wizard. The list of products is only displayed based on what the previous selection was. So think of this as a configure price quote tool. Really great for those of you that might have specific configurations, standardized configurations, and where you really want to control the quoting process for your sales reps by limiting them to certain selections at each step in the phase, or each phase in the process, excuse me. And then last but not least is the QuoteWerks shopping cart. The shopping cart tool allows you to create online order forms for customers. So instead of creating a quote, your customer can simply go directly to the shopping cart and submit their orders. And this is a great solution if you've got customers out there that are constantly ordering consumables or the same products from you. And those particular sales don't require much oversight from you. Obviously, when you get into more advanced solutions, you're definitely going to have your eyes on those solutions. But these shopping carts, again, give you the ability to send out pre-composed list of products that your customers can choose to execute on if they choose to do so. So again, these are 3 separate topics that we could probably spend an entire half hour on in their own right. But keep your eyes peeled, as we'll likely dive into each of these topics at some point in the future during our other webinars that we do. So back to templates. Now, before we go into the live demo, I just want to distinguish and differentiate between 2 different things 2 different terms, I should say, that we use here at QuoteWerks. It's templates and layouts. This word's often mixed up when speaking to the support team, and it's understandable. So just to clarify the QuoteWerks language, a layout is the output of your quote. It's the actual look and feel of your quote and what your customer will see, and it's the end product. And then a template is a pre-formatted starting point for a new document when creating different quotes. So templates can be either simple templates or as complex as you want, and it's really about pre-formatting a starting point for a quote that will actually use more specific and customized inputs. Now, Steve had mentioned here that quote duplication is another option that you have, and I think that's a great mention there, Steve. In addition to doing the things that we just talked about, if you have a quote that you have open or a quote that you've quoted in the past, you can also go in and use the file duplicate quote, and it'll just create you a separate quote of that as well. So good call out there, Steve. A lot of things that we do here at QuoteWerks, so we can certainly get down and talk about a lot of them, and that is certainly one to mention. So with that clarification, let's show you how to create a template and what we can do utilizing templates. And again, we're going to show you how to create, manage, and use document templates here. Now, during our poll, I did see that the majority of you do use QuoteWerks Desktop. I do have today set up in QuoteWerks Web, but not to be afraid. QuoteWerks Desktop and QuoteWerks Web, from a template perspective, work exactly the same. There may be some different places you might need to go to do things, but if you need any clarification, just let me know. I could always open up my desktop version here and clarify this for you as we get towards the end. So here we are in QuoteWerks Web, and the first step that we want to take in building a template is to create a new document. So we're going to go over to Documents, and we're going to select New. And then oftentimes the first step of creating a document is going to be pulling in your sold to, shipped to, or billed to information. But because we're building a template, we don't, at least in this instance, want to have a contact associated with it. So we're going to skip right into building the contents of the quote in the document items area. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to create a couple headings here, and in particular section headers. So we'll create one for some products we're going to sell. And we'll create one for some services we're going to sell. And then we'll create a heading, excuse me, for some optional items that we're going to include on this quote as well. So what I'm actually going to want to do here is I'm going to quote out a switch. I'm going to quote out the services to install that switch. And then I'm going to also quote out some warranty options, which I'll allow the customer to choose which of those options they want. Now, another thing to mention here is that if you want, let's say that your only interest in using templates is to make sure that the format of the quote is the same every time. So let's say that you want to ensure that there's always a product section, there's always a services section, optional item section. You could easily save this now as a template so that every time you go in to create a new quote, you already have these section headers created for you. Just another way that you can use templates, but we're going to take it a step further, populate it with some products, and include some additional information that will will help us when we use this again in the future. So again, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to populate this particular quote with some products. Now, if you've used QuoteWerks in the past, you know that we go to the products icon here, and we have the ability to pull from a number of different product databases. We've got Utilize and our product content subscription. We've got product data sources from our different CRMs and PSAs. And the data source that I'm going to use today is actually a data source that was created manually utilizing the QuoteWerks import product option. So what I'm going to do, as I mentioned, is I'm going to quote out a switch. So we're going to start with our Cisco Catalyst 9200, and we're going to add that to our document. Now, great tool here, Add Item Assistant. You can do a number of different things. What I want to point out in terms of building our template today is that we are going to go ahead and drop this right into our product section by clicking the drop down next to Under and click Section Products. And that's going to add that Cisco switch directly into our product section. Now, as I mentioned, we do also want to include some install services here. So I'm going to do some labor. This is our higher tier labor, so we're going to include that there. And we're going to say this is going to take about 4 hours of labor to accomplish. And again, utilizing our section headers, we're going to put this in our services section. We're going to add that in. And we now have our product and we have our services. And as I mentioned, I want to provide a few warranty options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down. I'm going to hold Control, select my 1, 2, and 3 year options, and use the Add Selected Items to document again. And I'm just going to do this 3 times by going in and selecting optional items and clicking Add. All right, so pretty quickly we were able to get to a point where we have our products, our services, and our optional items all added in here. Now, as I mentioned, one of the things that's beneficial about utilizing templates as opposed to, let's say, duplicating a quote, for example, is that we want to make sure that, we don't necessarily want to make sure, but we have the ability to set defaults in other areas of this document. I'm going to first just go ahead and save this real quick, just so that we can get into the links tab. And I want to show you that on the different tabs that we have here, for example, sold to, shipped to, if we wanted to create this template with a contact, we could go ahead and add this contact prior to saving the template. Sale info tab, we could include anything that we would want to include on the sale info tab as well. So let's say, for example, this is going to be shipping via FedEx. You can go ahead and put that there. We can change the terms. And all of these things that are here are going to default on the template when we create a quote from them in the future. Same thing with our notes. So if we have introduction notes, closing notes, purchasing notes, or internal notes that we want to include on this template, we can do that. If we want to include any custom information. And then let's say we wanted to make sure anytime we send out a quote with our Cisco switch that we include some spec sheet on it. Now, I don't actually have a spec sheet saved to my desktop, but let's say I did. I could go ahead. I don't have a spec sheet, but we have a Cisco logo. So we'll put that in there. And this is now included in the links tab and will be included on this template anytime moving forward. So another cool thing there. In addition to be able to set the different defaults here, you also would go into, or can go into, the deliver icon and choose your layouts. So let's say that every time we send out a quote for this particular template, what we're going to want to do is include, let's say, our simple cover page. We're going to want it to be in the radio quote template, and we're always going to want to include our support agreement and sample about our company. But we want our sample about our company to come first, right after the cover page, right? So by setting these here while we're building the template, we're setting the defaults for the template moving forward. And again, it's not just the products on the document, it's all of the things like this, what you're including, what documentation, so on and so forth. So now we have all the pertinent information. We need to start a document. We can go ahead and save this as a template. And the way that we would do that is by going to the Save as Template option. So File, Save as Template. And you can see here that there's a number of options that we have. What I'm going to put here is this is going to be the Cisco 9200L deployment. So anytime in the future that we wanted to do a deployment of a Cisco 9200L and provide the extended warranty options, we could use this template. But actually, before we do that, I actually forgot something I wanted to show you, and I mentioned I would be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out of there, and I'll paste it back in just a moment. But before we move on, I wanted to make sure that our customer could select one and only one of the warranty options. So again, we're setting something for this template that will be persistent into future quotes that we create using this template. And that's, again, going to be creating optional items by going to Edit Line Attributes. We're going to make these optional. We're going to make sure that one is selected. And we are going to put this in a warranty exclusive group, which means that the customer will have to select only one of the three options that we've just presented to them here. Now, I do see a question from Brent as to whether or not you could use a template and then the configurator together. There are ways in which you could do that for sure. It really depends on what your workflow is, Brent. So, for example, we could very easily open a template up and then run the configurator, and it's going to add additional things to the template. Or if you wanted, you could run the configurator, create a quote, and then save that quote as a template as well. So they can be used in tandem. Not sure if that's a specific use case you were talking about, but if you have a little additional clarification, maybe I can walk down that line with you here in a little bit. Okay, so there's a question just to show how to make lines optional again. Now, I want you to know when we're making these lines optional, we're making them optionally selectable within Quote Valet. And the way that we're doing that, again, is by selecting our options. So we want these three to be options, but we want them to be part of an exclusive group so that only one of them can be selected. So we right-click, Edit Line Attributes, and in this case, is optional, we want to set to yes. So what that's doing is it's saying we want these three products to be optional. Is selected is going to make sure that one of them is selected when the customer actually goes into Quote Valet to review the quote. And then if this was not set to an exclusive group, it would allow them to choose all three if they wanted to. In this case, we only want them to choose one. So we set it in that exclusive group warranty. And again, they have to make a selection, and it has to be only one of those three options. All right, so Thomas, I think that gets your question. And the next step here that we're going to talk about is how do you use a template? And there's a few ways to begin using a template. So one way is if we go to, let me first save this as a template, which I believe I already did. Oh no, we stopped because we needed to make our items optional. So we're going to go back to what we were doing before. Sorry about that. This is going to be our Cisco 9200L deployment. And we have save a template as Quote Valet mobile template. So if you're creating Quote Valet mobile templates, you can make that selection. It'll create that template for you. Or if you'd like, you can save this as a Quote Valet order form. That's what a shopping cart is, or that we referred to earlier. Both of those can be selected. We're not going to focus on those today, so I'm not going to dive into them too much. But just know that they're options available to you. When we do hit OK, this is going to save our quote that we just created as a template, and it's now going to be selectable for us anytime we want to go and use it. So again, we talked about how you would create a template. Now we're going to go about using a template. So one of the ways that you could go and use a template is if you go over to New and select Template. This is going to bring you to the new document details section, and you'll see we have all of our different templates listed here, including our Cisco 9200L deployment. So that's one option. The other option is if we are in a document and we have the File New option available to us, it's going to bring us back to the same spot, and we can go ahead and choose how we want to, or which template we want to use. Now, understand that when we're choosing this template, what it's doing is it's taking the template and it's creating a brand new quote from that template. So just as an example, if we go ahead and hit create, you'll see the template is JBL T1021. Now, when we save this document, you'll see it doesn't have that designation up top. When we save this document, it's going to be saved as a quote with its own document number. So it's going to be independent of the template that was created from. So that's if you want to create a quote from a template. Now, if you want to go in and manage templates that are existing and make changes to those templates, that's a different story. All right. I see there's a question here. So can you color each section? If you're willing, you could just give me a little bit more detail there. That would help if you're creating. Yep, and Thomas asked if we could show you how to edit existing templates. That's actually what I'm going to show you here in just a moment. So when we're working with existing templates and editing those templates, what we're editing is what we call the master template. So in this case, if we wanted to edit a template, we would open the template by either going to open and then the templates tab, or we could do the same thing by going to file, open, templates tab. So two different ways to get there. And this is if we want to open a template. So I have a template here. It's a desktop bundle. We'll take a look at that one. Open it up. Now notice we have this template designation up top. That means that we are working on the master template. So what that means is if we come in here and we make any adjustments, whatever they may be, let's say we want to make these optional, for example. Again, going to line attributes is optional, yes. It's selected, we can do that. Let's say that we wanted to make sure that anytime this particular one came out, that terms were, net 30. We could also set any of these things here that we might want, including not het 30, net 30, including the sold to, ship to. So if we wanted, we could come in and edit those. And then when we hit save, it's going to come in here and it's going to ask us how do we want to save it. We don't want to create a quote validate order form or a mobile template. So we'll just hit OK. And now this template, our desktop bundle, now has these different quantities and the net 30 terms have been added. So that's an example of how you would edit an existing master template. Now, one question that we had is if there was an undo function in QuoteWerks that you could use. And there's not one that I'm aware of currently. But that is something that I can certainly bubble up and talk to the development team about. I don't know if it's something they've looked at before or something that they've been considering. Just taking a look at the questions, bear with me. And I think I've covered most of them. All right. So we are going to go back to the open option here. And just I want to point out that within this templates area, you have the ability to search for the templates. You can search based on item fields, header fields. And then if you want to delete a particular one, you can export them. And if you want to use it, you double click on it or you just hit open. So that's a number of different options that you have there. So a note from Thomas here, Corey. I will certainly get you clarification from the team, but he indicated sometimes doing a Control Z will undo the last action in QuoteWerks. So good to know. Again, not sure if that carries over into QuoteWerks Web, but I will get some clarification on that for you. Now, Steve had mentioned, do I want to get into refreshing prices on templates? So they're really geared towards a short webinar, so I don't think I'm going to get there today. But Steve, I suppose you probably already know about refreshing prices, but if there's anybody that wants to know any additional information, just send it over to me, community@quoteworks.com, and I can address those with you offline. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to just talk about is a cooler feature that we have. It's to create a new document utilizing a template. So This will make it so that every time a rep goes to actually create a new document, rather than creating a blank document, it will create a document based on a template. So if we go to My Preferences and to MISC, and we scroll down, you'll see that there's a section here called New Document Default. So by default, when you hit New, it's going to create a blank quote. You can change that to create a blank order, blank invoice. But what I'm pointing out today, and this is the cool feature we have, is if you wanted, again, let's say you just wanted to make sure you had certain headings included in each quote. Let's say that you had a basic quote with some comment lines that you like included in every quote. Whatever the case may be, you can choose to start with this Cisco 92L deployment every time you start a new quote. Probably not the best option, because I suspect you're probably not going to be selling 9200L Cisco switches every time you quote, but you get the idea, right? It's the ability to, when you click new, it's going to open up something other than just a blank quote for you. So this is actually pretty cool, and if you're doing templatized quoting, it can definitely save you some time. So last thing we're going to do here, because we are getting kind of towards the half of the hour, and I said I wanted to keep this a little bit shorter, is we are going to go start to finish with our templates. So we are going to select a template. You'll see that our most recent template, the Cisco 9200L deployment, is actually already listed here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. We'll follow through to the end here with this particular quote. What we're going to do is we're going to add a contact. I have it connected to Zoho because I've been doing some videos on Zoho, but it could be any CRM or PSA that you're querying for your contact itself. Because we went to new and opened a quote based on an existing template, it is a new quote. It's not the master template. So if we wanted to, we could come in and adjust anything that's already here, but you'll see we have our FedEx, we have our Net 30, we have all our products. And then what I'll do here is first save the document. I'm not going to interact with our CRM integration. That would it's kind of out of the scope of today. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go to the deliver icon here. I'm going to make sure that we have our literature. So we're going to include a sample about our company and our support agreement. And we'll have the sample about our company come first. And then we'll go ahead and upload this to Quote Valet. And Quote Valet, again, is QuoteWerks online quote delivery and acceptance vehicle. So it gives you the ability to set signing options for your particular quote for approval. You can set reminder options to remind you or your customer if certain thresholds are met. And then when you upload it to the Quote Valet server, you're presented with a web page that you can send directly to your customer via QuoteWerks. I'm just going to go ahead and preview this page here. So the template that we created, we used to create a new quote, and this is it. And you can see that our optional items here have also carried over, and we have our mutually exclusive options that are here. So you can see it's really easy to use a template, and you can really quickly and efficiently get to a quote. While it only took a couple of seconds to create, it's likely going to be a little bit more of a professional presentation to your customer, and it's going to look like it took you a lot more time than it actually did. So it's one of the benefits of using templates. I didn't see any other questions come in while I was talking there. So if you do have any, pop them in there. I'll make sure to get to them before we end today. But I do, before I go, want to add that we pride ourselves on having a great support and other resources. It's really been a charge of mine specifically. So these are available to you right now. And I want you to feel free to take advantage of our trials, our videos, documentations, our tips and tricks email. I do want to point that out quickly here. If you do go into Google and just type in QuoteWerks tips and tricks, we have an email that goes out every month, and that email will be one of many different topics. You can see some of the past topics that we had here. So Quote Valet shopping cart, for example, was one that we did recently using QuoteWerks product data sources. This is a really cool email that we sent out, and I try to make it as engaging as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and send this out in the chat if anyone has any interest in it. So that link is there. Feel free to sign up. Again, it's one monthly email with topics that we really try to make as relevant as possible to you. Also, we are going to continue to having this pain points webinar series, and I also do typically at least one other. So we're going to be doing 2 pain points webinar series a month, and I typically do one other. So you can look for about 3 webinars a month. We also offer a number of services, and then our support and sales teams both are available to you at any time if you wanted to reach out and engage with them. All right, so with all that being said, that is what I have for our presentation today, and I want to thank everyone for your time. I've been keeping an eye on the questions. Carrie, thank you, appreciate the affirmation. I really do hope that you're able to take what we reviewed today and bring it into your environment and use it. And I know I'm not going to be able to cram everything into this half-hour call. So again, feel free to reach out to our sales team or our support team if you have any questions. And again, community@QuoteWerks.com. I'll be happy to respond to any emails you send there with any questions that you have. Martha asked if the webinar is taped. It is. So what we'll do is anyone that's registered for the webinar will receive a recorded webinar link likely within the next 24 to 48 hours. I try to get it out to you as quickly as possible, but sometimes the video rendering takes a little bit longer than we'd like. So yeah, keep an eye out on your emails for that recording. Feel free to share it. And as always, feel free to give us a ring or send us an email if you have any questions. I don't see any more questions here in the chat. So I want to thank everyone for your time and hope to see you on the next Pain Point webinar. Have a good day.